4 suitcases, packed, lined up by the front door like soldiers waiting for orders. She had been at her prenatal appointment that morning, both heartbeats strong, both babies healthy. She had driven home thinking about names. She walked in the door and found the suitcases. Her name was Zara. She was 6 months pregnant with twins. Her husband of 8 years, CEO of a technology company she had helped him build from a spare bedroom, was leaving. Not because the marriage had failed, because he had found someone who had not yet failed to be everything he needed, someone 24 years old, someone who had never asked him hard questions, someone who had never watched him fail and helped him stand back up, someone who did not know yet what Zara knew, that the man leaving was not the man she had married, and that the man she had married, the one she had believed in, supported, sacrificed for, had never quite existed. He told her while standing at the bottom of the stairs. Corporate voice, board meeting voice, the voice he used when he was about to make a decision that was going to hurt someone and had decided the hurt was not his problem. I've filed. My lawyer will be in touch. He picked up his suitcases. He walked out. He left her standing in the foyer of the house she had decorated and loved and made into a home. 6 months pregnant. With his children. With $217 in a personal account she had maintained as a quiet act of self-preservation. And nothing else. He thought she would disappear. He had arranged for her to disappear. Frozen accounts. Prenuptial agreement. On a settlement offer designed to make fighting seem more exhausting than accepting. He had spent considerable time engineering her exit. He had not spent any time wondering what she was capable of when everything was taken away. That was his mistake. This is the story of Zara Mensa, of what she was left with, of what she built from it, and of the twin boys who arrived 9 months after their father walked out, who are now the heirs to everything their mother built, with her own hands, while he was busy being someone else. Stay until the very end, because the NASDAQ scene is worth every minute. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you are watching from. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Before the suitcases and the frozen accounts and the prenuptial agreement she had signed at 24 because she was in love and had believed that love was sufficient protection, Zara Mensa was the kind of woman who built things, not metaphorically, literally. She built campaigns from nothing. She built strategies from gut instinct and research and the specific intelligence of someone who understood not just what people wanted, but why they wanted it. She had grown up in Atlanta, Georgia. Second daughter of Ghanaian immigrants who had built their American lives with the specific intention of people who understood that nothing was given and everything had to be earned and maintained and protected. Her father had owned a small accounting firm, and her mother had been a secondary school mathematics teacher for 27 years. Both of them had communicated, in different ways and through different means, the same message. You are the investment. Make it count. Zara had made it count. She had a master's degree in marketing strategy from Emory. She had spent 4 years at one of Atlanta's most respected brand consultancies. She had been, by 30, one of the youngest senior strategists in the firm's history. She had been, by 32, the woman David Cole had decided he could not build his company without. She had met David at a networking event. He was 35. Founder of a tech startup that had a good product and no idea how to talk to the people who needed it. He was charming in the way of men who have a vision and need someone to help them articulate it. He had asked for her professional opinion. She had given it, directly, without softening it for his comfort. He had called the next day. That was the most useful conversation I've had in 6 months, he said. Can we have another one? She had laughed. They had another one, and another, and then dinner, and then 18 months of a relationship that felt, to Zara, like the specific rightness of two people who were genuinely building something together. Because they were. She had become his unofficial chief marketing officer long before they were married. The rebrand, his idea on paper, her vision in execution, the product positioning, his name in the pitch deck, her strategy in the room, the investor presentations, his face at the front, her words coming out of his mouth. She had known this. She had told herself it was partnership. She had told herself that their life was the credit she did not need in the meeting room. She had been wrong about that. Not about everything. About that. They married when she was 28. She had signed the prenuptial agreement. She had not read it with the attention it deserved, because she was 28 and in love and believed that the marriage was the partnership. It was the first of many things she would understand too late. The 8 years had been good, or the exterior of them had been good. She had left the consultancy in year 2 when David said he needed her full-time. She had become, officially, the head of marketing for Cole Technologies. Uncompensated, because the company was in the growth phase, and David had explained that paying herself would complicate the equity structure and she would be compensated when they reached their Series B. They reached their Series B. The compensation had not arrived in the way she had expected. She had been patient. She had been building something for both of them. That was what she had believed. By year 5, she had a title. Chief Marketing Officer, on paper, in the organizational chart, in the company blog's executive bio section, without equity, without the compensation that matched the title, because the agreements had always been verbal, because she had trusted the man she was married to, because she had believed that what she was building with David was what she was building for both of them. She found out about Kiara in the way women often find out, not through confrontation, through the specific accumulation of small things that don't individually constitute evidence, but together constitute certainty, a change in his phone habits, a new pattern of evening absences, the specific brightness of a man who is receiving something from someone else. She had known 3 months before the suitcases. She had been deciding what to do with the knowing. She had been 6 months pregnant. She had been trying to find the ground, and then she had come home from the prenatal appointment and found the suitcases and understood that David had been deciding too and had decided first. She sat on the floor of the foyer for 45 minutes after he left, not crying, not moving, just sitting, processing the specific disorientation of a woman whose life has just been restructured without her input. Then she got up, because there were 2 heartbeats depending on her getting up. She went to the kitchen, made tea. The specific domestic routine of someone who does not yet have a plan, but needs her hands to do something while her mind catches up. She called her best friend. Adais had been her roommate at Emory, had been at the wedding, had pulled her aside afterward and said quietly, "You know I love you. I'm going to love you whatever happens. But I want you to remember who you are, separate from him, okay? Just remember." Zara had laughed. She had been 28 and happy. She had not known she was being given instructions for a future she could not yet see. "Adais," she said now, when her friend answered. And Adais heard everything in that one word. "I'm on my way," she said. "You don't have to. I'm already in the car." Adais arrived in 40 minutes. She walked in, looked at Zara, looked at the foyer where the suitcases had been, said nothing for a long moment. Then, "Tell me everything." So Zara told her, the suitcases, the conversation, the papers already filed, the accounts. She showed Adais her phone, the banking app, joint accounts, frozen, credit cards, declined, personal account, $217. Adais looked at the number. Something moved through her expression. Not pity, anger. The specific anger of someone who loves you and is watching what has been done to you and is converting that love into fuel. How long has he been planning this? "I don't know. Months, at least." "While you were pregnant?" "Yes." "Okay." Adaizi said. First thing tomorrow morning, you're going to call a lawyer. Tonight, you're going to eat something and sleep. I'm staying. You have work. I have a best friend who is 6 months pregnant and just had everything taken from her. Work can wait. She went to the kitchen, made food from what was in the refrigerator. Real food. Not because Zara had asked for it, because bodies need fuel even when everything else has collapsed. They ate together at the kitchen table. Adaiz did not ask unnecessary questions. She did not offer unnecessary comfort. She sat. She was present. This was, Zara would say later, the most important thing anyone did for her in that first week. Not words, not plans, just presence. That night, Zara lay in the bed she had shared with David for 8 years. She did not sleep. She thought. She thought about 8 years. About the company she had helped build. About the campaigns she had designed under his name. About the investors she had charmed in rooms where he was credited for her preparation. About the Series B she had helped pitch. About the equity she had not received, about the title without the compensation, about the prenuptial agreement she had not read carefully enough, about the 2 heartbeats moving inside her, about $217. She thought about all of it, and somewhere around 3 in the morning the grief shifted, not gone, but underneath it, something else, something harder, something that was not despair, something that was closer to resolve. She picked up her phone, opened her notes app, started writing. Not a plan yet, just thoughts, what she knew, what she could do, what she had that David had not taken. And her skills, her contacts, her mind, her work, 8 years of work, that was documented somewhere, in emails, in presentations, in campaign results tied to her name, in a company that existed partly because of her. She wrote for 2 hours. When she stopped, she had 3 pages of notes. Not a business plan, the beginning of one. The lawyer's name was Patricia Osei. Adaiz had found her, a family law attorney with a specific reputation for high-asset divorce cases and a particular specialty in cases involving business interests. They met in her office on a Thursday morning. Patricia read the prenuptial agreement. Her expression was controlled, professional. But Zara had spent 8 years reading rooms. She saw what Patricia's expression was containing. "This is tight," Patricia said. He drafted it carefully. "No, you receive $200,000 if the marriage exceeds 5 years. It has. But there are clauses here." She pointed to a section. "This language around business assets is specifically designed to exclude your contributions to Cole Technologies from the marital estate. Even though I built the marketing function from nothing, even though your name was on the campaigns." "Your name was on the campaigns," Patricia said carefully, "but not on the equity agreements. Do you have any documentation of verbal agreements regarding compensation or equity?" "Emails," Zara said. "Years of emails." Patricia looked at her. "Show me everything." They spent 3 hours going through Zara's documentation. Emails from David discussing her compensation, presentation files with her name and authorship embedded in the metadata, campaign results reports she had written, that board meeting minutes where her strategies were credited to the executive team. A string of emails from 18 months ago in which David had written, "We'll sort out the equity conversation properly once we're through the Series C. You've built this with me. You know that." Patricia read that email twice. "This is something," she said. "It's not an equity agreement, but it's an acknowledgement. It goes to his intent. Is it enough? Alone? No. As part of a pattern of documentation that establishes your role and his promises. Possibly." "There's something else," Patricia said. She pulled out a document. "We requested preliminary financial disclosures. His company valuation as of last quarter was $480 million. Zara looked at the number. She had known the company was valuable. She had helped make it valuable. But seeing the number, attached to the reality of $217 in her account, the distance between those 2 numbers was 8 years of her life. "There's also this," Patricia said. "Another document." Cole Technologies has a marketing consultant on the payroll. Kiara Williams, started 8 months ago. Salary, $18,000 per month. $18,000 per month for 8 months. Over $100,000. For a woman who had replaced Zara's function in the company while Zara was still there. While Zara was still doing the work. While Zara was getting pregnant with his children. He was paying her with company money, Zara said. We're going to find out exactly how he was paying her, Patricia replied. And what he was paying her for. The next 2 weeks were documentation. Zara sat at the kitchen table every evening with her laptop and went through 8 years of emails. She flagged every instance of David acknowledging her work, every email where he had credited her strategy, every message where he had discussed compensation or equity or the future they were building together. There were hundreds. 100 pieces of evidence that she had been the architect of significant parts of his success. 100 pieces of evidence that he had known it. 100 pieces that together told a story his prenuptial agreement had tried to erase. Adaizi sat with her most evenings, worked on her own laptop, present. You're going to win this, Adaizi said one evening. You don't know that. I know you. I know what you built. I know what he took credit for. The documentation is there. A pause. And I know something else. What? And you're angrier than you've ever been. And angry Zara is the most dangerous version of you. Zara looked at her friend. She was not wrong. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for month 3 of the divorce proceedings. Zara was 7 months pregnant. She wore a professional dress, maternity cut, navy, armor. David arrived with 2 lawyers. He had spent money on this. He had invested in his own protection in the same way he had invested in the company, strategically, with the calculation of someone who understood that what you were willing to spend on something determined what you were going to get from it. The judge was a woman named Honorable Claire Bennett, 62 years old, on the bench for 19 years, known for efficiency, for precision, and for an extremely low tolerance for the specific behavior of men who had used legal structures to impoverish pregnant wives. She had seen this before. She saw it now. Mr. Cole, Judge Bennett said, reviewing the financial disclosures. Your company is valued at $480 million. Your wife is 7 months pregnant with twins and has access to $217. You froze her accounts on the day you served the divorce papers. David's attorney stood. Your Honor, the prenuptial agreement clearly establishes. I've read the prenuptial agreement, Judge Bennett said. I've also read the email from Mr. Cole to his wife, in which he states, and I'm quoting directly, "You've built this with me." How you know that? Can you explain to me how that statement is consistent with a position that excludes his wife from any interest in the company? David's attorney paused. The pause was long enough to be meaningful. Your Honor, the email was an expression of appreciation, not a legal commitment. Appreciation, Judge Bennett repeated. The word landed in the courtroom like something had been dropped from a height. Your client expressed appreciation to a 7 months pregnant woman he was simultaneously serving with divorce papers. She looked at her documents. I'm granting the emergency motion for temporary support. $15,000 per month, retroactive to the date of separation. I'm also ordering a full forensic audit of Cole Technologies' financial records for the past 3 years. David's attorney stood. Your Honor, a forensic audit of the company would be highly disruptive to business operations. Mr. Cole's personal life has been highly disruptive to his pregnant wife, Judge Bennett said. He can manage a business disruption. We're adjourned. Patricia called Zara from the courthouse steps. $15,000 per month, retroactive, and the audit is ordered. Zara sat in Adaizi's car, her hands on her belly, the babies moving, active, as though they could feel the shift. What does the audit mean? It means we get to see everything he hasn't disclosed. If he used company money for Kiara, for the relationship, that's fraud. That's a breach of fiduciary duty. That voids specific protections in the prenup. How long? 60 days for the audit. Maybe 90. Zara looked out the window. 90 days. She would have given birth by then. The twins would be in the world. Everything would be different. Okay, she said. Then we wait. We don't just wait, Patricia said. We prepare. We build your case. And you build whatever you're building. I haven't told you I'm building anything. You haven't had to, Patricia said. I can tell. Build fast. It'll help. The forensic audit took 82 days. The auditors found what Patricia had predicted they would find. Kiara Williams had been placed on the Cole Technologies payroll 8 months before the divorce filing. Classified as a marketing consultant, she had delivered no documented work product. She had attended 2 company events. She had been paid $216,000. In addition, the audit found the apartment, a 2-bedroom in Midtown Atlanta, listed in the company's real estate holdings as executive accommodation, occupied exclusively by Kiara Williams for 7 months. Rental value, $6,000 per month. Company funds, $42,000. Travel, flights to Miami, New York, the Maldives, all booked under business travel, all accompanied by Kiara Williams, all charged to corporate accounts. Total embezzlement from the company, $438,000. David Cole had stolen from his own company to fund his relationship with a 24-year-old. The board found out on a Wednesday. By Friday, they had called an emergency meeting. By the following Monday, they had voted to remove David as CEO pending the criminal investigation. David Cole, who had built a company valued at $480 million, no longer ran it. And the prenuptial agreement, which had been constructed so carefully to protect his interests, was voided by the fraud clause. Everything became community property. Everything was now negotiable. The twins came 6 weeks after the forensic audit report was released. 36 weeks, 4 weeks early, but healthy, strong. The specific, determined health of children whose mother had spent 9 months fighting for them. Zara went into labor at 2 in the morning. Adaizi drove her. The hospital was 20 minutes away. During those 20 minutes, Adaizi talked about everything except what was happening. Old stories, embarrassing memories from Emory. The specific comfort of someone who understands that distraction is sometimes the most loving thing available. Labor was 7 hours. Adaz stayed the entire time. And at 9:17 in the morning, Kofi David Mensah arrived. 5 pounds, 2 ounces, screaming immediately, announcing himself. At 9:23, Kwame Henry Mensah followed. 4 pounds, 14 ounces. Quieter, looking around first, taking stock, already himself. They placed both babies on Zara's chest. She looked at them. These 2 people who had existed inside her through everything. Through the suitcases, through the frozen accounts, through the courtroom, through the forensic audit, through the building, through every night she had sat at the kitchen table going through 8 years of emails, through every moment she had wanted to give up and had not given up because their heartbeats were present and depending on her not giving up. "Hi," she said. Her voice was very quiet. "I've been waiting to meet you." Kofi made a sound. Kwame looked at her face. Adaize in the corner was crying without attempting to hide it. "They're perfect," Adaize said. "Yes," Zara agreed. "They look like you." "They look like themselves," Zara said. "That's exactly right." David came to the hospital on the 2nd day. He looked uncomfortable in the way of a man who has agreed to do something out of legal obligation and is performing it as efficiently as possible. He looked at the twins from the doorway. Kofi was asleep. Kwame was awake, looking at the ceiling with the specific, unfocused attention of a 3-day-old examining his new world. "They're small," David said. "They're premature," Zara said. "They're healthy." He nodded. Did not come closer, did not ask to hold them, did not ask their names. Zara had changed their names the day after they were born. Mensah, not Cole. Her name, her father's name. He stayed for 6 minutes. He left. The nurse came in afterward, looked at Zara. Are you okay? Yes, Zara said. And she was. Not because it did not hurt. It did. Not for herself. For them. For two people who deserved a father who would ask their names. But she had known who David was for a long time. Watching him confirm it was not the same as being surprised by it. She pressed her hands to her boys. You have everything you need, she told them. You have me. She started working when Kofi and Kwame were 8 weeks old. Not because she was ready. Because she needed income independent of the legal proceedings. Because she had spent too much of her life building something that belonged to someone else. Because she needed something that was hers. She worked during nap times, 45 minutes here, an hour there. Laptop balanced on the arm of the nursing chair. Kofi asleep against her left side. Kwame on the right. Both of them somehow knowing when to be quiet and when they could not be. She reached out to her professional network, not as David Cole's wife, not as the former CMO of Cole Technologies, as Zara Mensa, who had built things and was building again. 3 contacts responded in the first week. She sent them her portfolio, 8 years of work, documented with the meticulous care of someone who had spent months gathering evidence. Every campaign, every strategy, every result, her name embedded in the metadata, her authorship established in the documentation, her work. The first client hired her for a 12-week engagement, $35,000. She delivered in 10 weeks. The results exceeded projections. The client sent referrals. The referrals sent their own referrals. By the time Kofi and Kwame were 4 months old, she had 6 clients. By 6 months, she had 12. By 8 months, she had incorporated Mensa Strategy Group, her name, her company, her equity, everything documented, everything established, everything hers from the first signature. She hired her first employee when the twins were 5 months old, a former colleague who had watched Zara work for years and had been waiting for exactly this call. I always knew, the colleague said. The campaigns, the strategy. Everyone knew it was you. He just had the title. He had more than the title, Zara said. He had the equity. Until now. Until now. The divorce settlement was reached when the twins were 7 months old. And Patricia had negotiated for 3 months. The final number was built on the forensic audit, the voided prenup, the documented embezzlement, and the extensive paper trail of Zara's contributions to the company. David settled for $3 million, plus child support of $20,000 per month, plus a share of the company's future proceeds based on her documented contributions during the marriage. It was not everything she had built. It was not the full equity she deserved. But it was enough. Enough to buy a house. Enough to fund the company properly. Enough to give the twins a foundation. Enough to never again be the woman with $217 in her account. It's not justice, Patricia said when they signed. No, Zara agreed. But it's a start. She walked out of that office and went home, picked up her sons. I held them both. We have enough, she said. Now we build more. Mensa Strategy Group at 3 years old had 42 clients, 11 employees, and annual revenue approaching $2 million. Zara had been profiled in Atlanta Business Chronicle, had been invited to speak at 3 industry conferences, had turned down an acquisition offer for $5 million because she was not finished building yet. The twins were 3 years old. Kofi was loud and immediate, and had already decided he was in charge of everything. Kwame was precise and observational, and was already correcting his brother's logic with a patience that suggested he understood something about the long game. They were every day more themselves, and every day Zara looked at them and understood something she had not been able to articulate when they were born. That her capacity for them was not diminished by the difficulty of getting here. It was built by it. Every hard thing she had done for them had made her more capable of being their mother. Every night she had worked when she wanted to sleep. Every client she had taken when she was uncertain. Every decision she had made with 2 sleeping babies in the next room. All of it had built something. Not just the company, her. David's criminal trial ended when the twins were 18 months old. He was convicted on 2 counts of fraud and 1 count of embezzlement, sentenced to 4 years. With good behavior, he would serve 2. He did not contact Zara during this time. She did not contact him. The child support payments were handled by his attorney. They arrived on time. The supervised visitation when it occurred was awkward and infrequent. David was a man who did not know his sons, and Kofi and Kwame, who were being raised with the specific warmth of a mother who showed up every single day, did not quite know what to do with a man who appeared occasionally and looked at them like they were strangers. Because they were. He was a stranger, and Zara had stopped grieving that. Not for herself. She had stopped grieving it for them, because they had Adaiz. Who was Auntie Adaiz in every way that mattered, who appeared on Sunday mornings with food and chaos and the specific energy of someone who loved these children like they were hers. They had Zara's mother, Abina, who drove in from Marietta twice a week and spoke Twi to the twins so they would know where they came from, who held them when Zara needed her hands free, who told them stories about Ghana and about their grandmother's grandmother who had also built something from nothing. They had a village, built not from what David had left behind, built from what Zara had chosen. Mensa Strategy Group went public on a Thursday in October, 5 years after the Suitcases, 4 years after the twins had arrived in the world. Zara stood on the floor of the NASDAQ with Kofi on one hip and Kwame on the other. Both of them in suits. Kofi's was slightly crooked. Kwame had fixed his own tie approximately 6 times. Adaiz stood beside her, 25% equity holder, chief operating officer. Then the woman who had arrived at the foyer of a hollow house 5 years ago and had sat at the kitchen table and been present through every night that followed. Behind them, the screen, Mensa Strategy Group, opening at $28 per share, valuation at IPO, $720 million. Zara's personal stake, 38%, $270 million. She looked at the screen, at the number, at her name, at her sons, who were not looking at the screen because they were 4 years old and had identified a balloon somewhere in the crowd and were discussing it with great urgency. "Kofi," she said. He looked at her. "We're about to ring the bell." "What does that mean?" "It means we did it." "Did what?" She looked at the screen, at the number that had not existed 5 years ago, and that had existed only as a note in her phone app, written at 3 in the morning in a bed that smelled like someone else's cologne, written by a woman who had $217 and 2 heartbeats and the beginning of an idea. "We built something," she said, "from nothing." "We're rich?" Kofi asked. "We're secure," Zara said. "That's better." "Oh," Kofi said, apparently satisfied. Kwame had located the balloon. He pointed at it. "Mama, look." She laughed, full and genuine. The laugh that had taken a long time to come back. And then she rang the bell. The interviews started the next morning. Bloomberg, Forbes, the Wall Street Journal. Every one of them wanted the narrative. Abandoned pregnant wife builds empire, revenge story, underdog rises. Zara gave them a different one. "This is not a revenge story," she said in every interview, as revenge requires the other person to be the point. David Cole has not been the point for a very long time. "What is the point?" "The twins," she said, "and the company, and the proof that when someone takes everything they think you have, they sometimes reveal what they missed." "What did he miss?" She looked at the interviewer. "Me," she said simply. "He missed me entirely." The house was in a neighborhood in Buckhead, 4 bedrooms, a garden that Abina had taken over with the specific authority of a grandmother who understands that gardens are for children, a home office where Zara worked mornings, a kitchen table where the twins did their homework, a back porch where Adaiz appeared on Sunday evenings with food and opinions. The kind of home that was not impressive in the way of the mansion David had owned, but impressive in the way of something chosen rather than acquired. Every detail Zara's, every room reflecting someone who knew who she was. Kofi and Kwame started kindergarten the year after the IPO. Kofi immediately organized the other children. His teacher called Zara in week 2. He is very confident, the teacher said. Very decisive. Yes, Zara said. He gets that from me. Kwame made one friend in the first week. A quiet child who liked building things. They spent recess constructing elaborate structures from the available materials. He's very thoughtful, the teacher said. He takes his time. He gets the big picture. Yes, Zara said. He gets that from me, too. David was released from prison 18 months after conviction. He moved to Charlotte, took a position in tech, middle management, and he saw the twins on scheduled visits, twice a year. He brought gifts that did not quite fit their interests. He asked questions that revealed how little he knew about them. He was becoming, over time, less a presence and more a fact. A man who existed in their lives the way a building exists on a street you drive past sometimes. There, acknowledged, not the destination. Why doesn't David know our stuff? Kwame asked once. Because he wasn't around when you were learning your stuff, Zara said. Will he ever know? That depends on whether he shows up. Does he show up? Zara looked at her son. Honest, always honest, not in the way that matters. Kwame nodded. Went back to his building project. Children absorb the truth and move forward. Adults are the ones who get stuck in the grieving. The Mensa strategy group continued growing. 120 employees by year 6. Offices in Atlanta, New York, and Los Angeles. Annual revenue, $60 million. A second acquisition offer. This time, $800 million. This time, Zara accepted. Not all of it, 60%. She retained 40% equity. She remained CEO. She had learned from David's mistake. She would never structure something in a way that allowed her to be removed from what she had built. The deal closed on a Friday. She took the twins for ice cream, just the 3 of them. Their favorite place. A small shop near the house. Nothing impressive. Everything right. They sat on the bench outside. The Atlanta afternoon warm. Kofi eating too fast. Kwame eating methodically, both of them completely present. We're going to be rich forever? Kofi asked. We're going to be secure, Zara said. For a very long time. Because of the company? Because of the work. Your work, Kwame said. Precise as always. Our work, Zara said. I couldn't have built it if I wasn't building it for you. That's what you always say. Because it's always true. Kwame looked at his ice cream. Mama, he said. Yes. When we're grown up, can we work at the company? She looked at her son. At this small, serious, specific child who had arrived at 9:23 in the morning into a world that had just been restructured. Who had been her reason through every hard night. Who was now asking if he could be part of what she had built. If you earn it, she said. Yes. How do you earn it? You work hard? You're honest? You show up. A pause. Every single day. You show up. Kwame nodded. This satisfied him. He returned to his ice cream. Methodical, thoughtful, already himself. Already more than enough. David Cole left with 4 suitcases. He took the house, he took the accounts, he took the title that had been hers for 8 years. He took everything he had carefully arranged to take, and he left her with $217 and 2 heartbeats. And 8 years of documented work he had not thought she would ever be able to use. He had not thought she would fight. He had not thought she would build. He had not thought that the woman he had spent 8 years benefiting from would, when left with nothing, discover that nothing was a specific kind of freedom. The freedom of someone who has nothing to protect and everything to build. Kofi and Kwame Mensah are 5 years old. That they are the heirs to a company their mother built from a note in her phone app at 3 in the morning. They did not choose to be part of this story, but they are the reason it has the ending it does. Because a woman who is building for herself will build to survive. A woman who is building for 2 heartbeats will build beyond what survival requires. She will build something that lasts. If this story moved you, hit the like button. Leave a comment telling me where you are watching from and what part of Zara's story landed hardest for you. Was it the prenup, the forensic audit, the 3 in the morning note app, the twins on the NASDAQ floor arguing about a balloon? Tell me. Share this with someone who needs to hear that what is taken from you does not take what you are. And subscribe with notifications on, because every week I bring you stories of women who were left with nothing and built something nobody expected. I will see you in the next one.